Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I am Noelle and we are making a ball gown. If you missed the first installment of this series, I will link it up here and down below for you where I make the bodice part of this. It's fully a functional bodice, however, it does need some decoration. I gotta warn you that this is probably going to be somewhat of a chaos vlog because I have somewhere around 7 or 8 days to do a whole lot of things to get this ball gown ready to go to a ball in Chicago, and I leave on the 22nd for that. So I am trying to go to LA for a weekend in the middle of that. So I don't have very much time to get that done, and that's getting kind of stressful. Let's go over what we need to do. All right, we need to get the ball gown skirt done. I have a skirt. It needs a hem. There. So all I have to do is figure out what kind of hem I want. Like, I don't know if I'm just gonna hem it or if I'm going to put some tarlatan in it or what. I need to figure that out. Shouldn't be a problem. It'll take, you know, a few hours to do a hem. I will probably hand stitch that. I need to do the overskirt. This is probably the most amount of time that I will need to spend on something, and I don't quite know which overskirt I want to do yet, and that is part of the problem. I want to grommet my corset because I haven't done that yet. Every time I finish something, I like add another thing to the list. It's like, this is the thing about it I didn't finish. I keep saying I'm a 100%er, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm only a 90%er. Anyway, I need to grommet this corset. It should not take super long, maybe like an hour or two to get that grommeted, but it does need to get done, and I need to decorate my bodice. I could do this in Chicago if I had to, like, this is possible. So I will probably be working on all of these, like, kind of in tandem, doing things here and there, so hopefully you guys are cool with this, and let's get started. I think the first thing I could just knock right out is getting my corset grommeted, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start with that, so let's get grommeting. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is go ahead and delace this, and then take out the lacing strips, because they're just simply stitched on here. Maybe press out some of the damage that I've done from the lacing strips, and then mark the holes. Alright, we have laces out, lacing strips out, corset has been ironed. I have this cool ruler that my friend Sarai made for me from Amped Atelier. I don't know if she's still making these and selling them, but she was for a while, so if she does, I will put a link to this down below for you. So I'm going to mark the lacing strips on where I want the lacings to go, and then I'm going to use this grommet press that I got. Guys, this is at Gold Star, which I don't have an affiliate link or anything, but I'll put the link down to this. This thing is pretty cheap. I think it's like either $59 or $69 for this, and then you can get it with like 2 presses and a bunch of grommets for like $89 or $9, like, I don't know. It's under $100 to get a grommet press. If you're ever gonna make more than one corset in your life, get a grommet press. They package it really well. It comes like entirely saran wrapped. It's pretty crazy. This thing is a godsend. Like, it cuts the time in 1/10. Highly recommended. I will put the link down below. Not an affiliate link. All right, I'm gonna mark and then start pressing grommets in. Okay, so this is how this lacing guide works. It's good. It's clear, so you can see on either side of it that you're centered, and then you just stick your pencil in there. And I'm using this cool chalk pencil. By the way, this chalk pencil is the shiz also. This I do have an affiliate link for. It's in my Amazon store. This is really cool. Do recommend. It's like a mechanical pencil, except it uses chalk. Whew, so good. And it has an eraser, and the eraser actually works. Anyway, you stick your pencil in there, and you make your little marks, and then you have all your marks. And it's very easy to have them be identical in both places, which is just the best. Okay, let's grommet one. You need a grommet front that looks like this, and a grommet back that looks like that. So you have 2 pieces. I put the back just like right on this thing because that's where it lives. I have 2 awls that I use, a little one and a scarier one. This one does pokey poke, this one does openy openy, and we just stick it in the hole here, gently twisting back and forth. All you're trying to do is move the fibers to the side, not break through them. I feel like I'm doing a commercial for this thing. I am not. No ad, no sponsor. And then this guy takes a little bit longer because you're opening it up wider, and I just grind back and forth on it until it goes all the way to the end, because that hole is about the size of the hole I need. And then I like to go like out and in again a couple times. This is a very suggestive situation that we're in right here. And that just like firmly opens it up and heats the fibers a little bit, and then I immediately stick this in there because they will try to close on their own. They were already trying to close. Then you can see maybe that there's a bunch of stuff in front of that. So I go through with this little awl and I kind of pick these fibers up and like put them over the edge and like make sure I can feel all the way around the edge to feel the edge of the grommet, and that does take a minute. And as you do this more, you just like this becomes a faster thing to do. But every now and then you get a little brat that does not want to do it, like this one is being. And you just have to kind of like work these fibers until they're all on the outside. And occasionally you have like one string that won't get in, and that's fine. That one's just gonna break. But I got all these in. See how that looks a lot better, and you can like kind of see the metal coming through. And you gotta like keep on it because it really wants to close. It's like fabric is really intensely interested in staying whole. And then I just stick it on here and I push down on this thing and we have a grommet. And then I do it 14 times on this side and 14 times on the other one. Okay, we have grommeted corset. And we can mark this off the list. Let's get this skirt figured out at least. Okay, Brunhilde is in the mix. I love that I can finally see her little butt flange come out. I don't know what this thing is called, but it's nice to see that it sits actually really nicely. Because remember how I was like, well, it's floppy dump back there, but that's because there'll be a bustle. And yep, it fits good. I like the shape of this over this bustle. If it was a slightly earlier year, I would say that it needs to be more shelfy, but this is good for what I want to do because I'm kind of like skirting the 1880s, 1890s situation. So I think this length is good. I like it. It's fine. So I'm going to just pop it up a ½ inch and then hand tack that down. I'm going to go ahead and iron this whole thing before I do that though. But I'm going to go sit on my bed and watch The Last of Us and Fringe or whatever else I have to watch and stitch this. That only took like 2.5 hours, which for me is kind of a miracle. Like, I'm getting faster, guys. I'm getting faster. It's happening. I mean, it's like 100 inches around that skirt, so like I got through that in 2.5 hours. Like, excellent. I'm proud of me. High five me. Okay, so we have ball gown overskirt to deal with next. I need to pick a pattern, so I'm gonna get onto it and go do that. Okay, I have gone through all of my patterns to look at what overskirts I want. I'm trying to figure out if I want to train or not. I'm not really a train kind of girl. It seems like a lot of faff and a pain in the butt, and like it'll drag everywhere and I'll get upset about it, and anyway, I want one in theory but not really in practice. You know how that is. Anyway, the pattern I think I settled on is the same one I use for Merida, which has like upsides and downsides, right? Like the upsides are, I know what I'm doing. I've done this before. The downsides are, I remember this one and it was hard. So that's fine though. It has a lining on the back piece, which I didn't obviously do when I did Merida because that was wool. So that will be something new to deal with, and I'm excited to see how it looks in a different fabric. And it's a great overskirt. I think I'm gonna do, like, that one was pointy. I think I'm gonna do the rounded version. So I think I'm just gonna go forth and cut fabric. I have, you can kind of see my task list right there, which you cannot read probably. I have one thing, which is cut fabric, because I didn't know what was going to happen after that. So I'm going to cut fabric. I have to put on the rest of the stuff I need to do, which I think is like cutting the lining. This is like cut lining, cut fabric, sew thing. But like, there's like a waistband to deal with and a bunch of other stuff. Okay, this pattern is so hard to explain. This right here is the center back. Like, this triangle folds together to make the slit at the center back. All of this and all of that get put into the waistband. And so this is the bottom of the back. So this whole piece is just the back. I was wondering about lengthening it. In order to lengthen it, I need to lengthen it both on this edge and on that edge, which I can do because I have about 12 inches extra back there. So if I pull this, if I cut this straight and then pull it down 12 inches, I will add the same amount to both sides. I need to obviously, I think, turn this when 25% turn in order to make that go down. But I can in fact do that. So I'm going to start with it there and see about adding a train. I think the train would only end up being like 8 or 9 inches long, so maybe that's fine. It might also just look like a mistake. I'm not sure, so I'm gonna cut it and find out, and if it's horrible, I'll lose some yardage, but we'll cut it off. Okay, we have a new task list. We have also cut the fabric and the lining. So we have to sew the front, hem the front, pleat the front. Then we have to sew the back, which really just entails like sewing around the edges mostly and then flipping it inside out because it's lined. And then attach the waistband, which sort of means pleating the back a lot, and then attaching the tucks. And this all looks like super simple. This front part is super simple. The back part, I remember being vaguely complicated, so we'll see how that all goes. All right, all the front sewing is this is a piece on the fold. This is the center, so it is double itself. And I have to attach these pieces, which there are 2 of, to each side of those, and then hem this situation. Before I do that, I will probably go around all of them with some zigzag. So I'm going to put that on the board as something to do. Also, it's silk. We don't want it running all over the place. So let's give that a zigzag. Okay, we are done zigzagging edges. And here we have a pinned like front side and front together. You'll notice that the right side of the fabric is out. It's probably very difficult to tell the difference between that on camera. The red dots are the outside and the black dots are the inside. I'm gonna do some French seams, at least on this front section, just to be tidy. Also, this is a thing that happens all the time in patterns for me. I just sort of grade it out later. Okay, front is sewn together with some nice French seams, so everything is super tidy in here. I do not think the sides are going to be able to be French seamed because they are very chaotic. Okay, here is the whole front section. This is the apron. So I need to put a hem in it. That's the next step. And I'm trying to decide if I want to. I'm going to just double roll it, obviously. Do I go ahead and hand sew it? Do I use a blind hem stitch on my machine and do all the prep work for that? Do I like just run it through and have a seam showing? Like, I don't know, but you know, inherently I of course want to hand sew it. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm inclined to maybe try the blind hem foot and see how it looks on this. So I'm gonna do a sample and see how it looks with this fabric, and if it looks okay, cool beans, and if it doesn't, I will do the needful and hand sew it probably. So here we have the sample. It does have a blind hem in it. You can barely see it, so I think it's good. I suck at doing these on curves, and this is a curve, so wish me luck, but I think I'm going to give this a try. If it ends up sucking, I'll just stop and start hemming, but I have to do all the prep work first anyway. Okay, so it went pretty well, except right here on the main curve. There's like just a few places that like it didn't catch. I think like right here, and like a little bit right here, and definitely right there, and right there. I'm just gonna go through and hand tack those parts because I want this to be fairly secure and for me to not like catch on it, but then I'm gonna call this good. Okay, a quick little hem job later and we are done. So let's mark that off, and then apparently the next thing I have to do is pleat the sides. So I need to read up about how that goes and then make that happen. Okay, I've pleated up one side. This is how that whole huge long side goes into this. This is much easier in silk than it is in wool, I will give you that. So what I have to do next is like kind of make sure these are straight and even and good, and then base them together, and then it's like finish them if you feel like it. This is the edge. Like this is like kind of out in the world. The other side I think does overlap it a little bit, but at times this is visible. So I think what I'm going to do is make a little like bias tape situation, not even bias tape, just like straight tape, but like a tape, a self tape situation, and put it around this and sew that down so that this stays the way it needs to be, and if it gets shown into the public, it's fine. Okay, so here it is with the binding on it. I think it looks pretty good. I could sew it by hand on the back, but put the machine on the front, hopefully to hold all this down. So I just need to do it to the other side, and then we are complete with the front. Okay, so we have this guy on here, and this just gets floofed in this way. You can kind of come around here and see what happens. So that exists, and then there's another piece that like kind of goes over it and then down the back. It's really pretty. I like it. Happy with it so far, and I'm halfway done, so that's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna work on the back, and the first thing you have to do is line it by essentially sewing almost all the way around it. So I have some flaws in it. I still need to like cut out the placket corner and the bottom curve, but I don't know if you guys can see this, but there, yeah, you can. There's like a little snag there. So because this gets pleated into the back of the skirt, I am going to go ahead and put this on like the top edge, like the part that's going to get pleated into the skirt, so that hopefully it disappears. This guy is super chaos, like you can see this. Look at the other side. It's like way worse. So I don't know what this is. It's actually just feels like it's not some, it's like it didn't get dyed there. Something happened in the dye process, because it was like in the middle of the bolt. And you know, I bought an entire bowl of black taffeta, so yeah, there's not a lot I can do about that at this point. So I think what I'm gonna do is, this is will be the inside. It's currently gonna be on the top, and this will be the outside, and this side's a little bit better, so I'm just also putting it towards the top. Anyway, it's gonna hopefully get hidden. Okay, the notch is cut out and rounded off at the bottom corner, and they are pinned together, and I am going to sew them in a bunch of spaces, but not all spaces. There's like some big parts in here. This is what gets plated into the waistband until like right about there and right about there. That much gets pleated in the waistband, and then the rest of it, I guess, just hangs, question mark? I don't know. So anyway, I am doing a bunch of sewing to get this and then all of that sewn together, and then you flip it. Luckily, you have holes to flip it through. Okay, looking at this mess, you're like, what do you mean you just ironed this whole thing out? So this is all sewn together. What I mean when I iron it, I mean I like ironed the edges down. This is gonna be fluffy. There's always extra room in here. But also because it's a bustle, like, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be all wrinkled up anyway, like that's kind of the point, so whatever, this is fine. So we're done here. It does say basting. I need to baste like this edge. It doesn't say if I need to baste it like open or tucked in. I'm gonna assume open because it's going into the waistband, so I will baste it maybe on my machine open, and then we can start putting these things into the waistband. I'm actually going to break this out because this one, the back gets pleated in first and then the front gets added, and it's a two-step process, so I'm going to break this out into two. This is a great way if you are a person who wants to make your list into small chunks so that you don't feel stressed out by them. Just start breaking stuff down. Like, make this one smaller because I have to attach the back first and then the front, and then I have to finish it, and you can do that into 3 steps if you want to, so I'm going to. Okay, here we go. I made that into pleat back into the waist, attach the front to the waist, finish the waistband, and add the closures, and then I have ties to put in the back. But this is it. This is all I have to do, so this is great, and this is just 5 small tasks. So I've made a thing that is going to take hours into 5 things that will not take more than like 20 minutes each. So like, this is great. This is a way to make your life a little bit simpler. Okay. I have this side all pleated in, and I'm now spending a little time to straighten these pleats out and like make sure they're facing the right direction so that I can go baste them down. The instructions do not tell me to baste them down, but I do that for my own gratification. And I do it just inside of where I would sew it down, which I will sew it down, you know, when I sew the waistband down later. So I just do it at like a third of an inch rather than a half an inch to get a little bit more security on it and make sure everything's cool. I also sometimes pin, especially this first one, down a little bit lower so it hangs straight, because sometimes these guys like to get wonky, and nobody needs that. So I'm gonna go just stitch across here, and then I'll come back and show you what it all looks like on the belt. Okay, in this version of Can Noel Communicate What's Happening, this is that V. So when I had to get into it, like I just like was looking at it, I'm like, what the heck is even going on here? And it took me like a couple minutes to be like, how do I get into this? What is this? What shape is this? Where is the closure? Because closures are all over the place in Victorian stuff. Like I have closures in the front, I have closures, a lot of closures on the side, I have closures in the back. This one happens to be in the center back. But I was just like, what? Okay, here's another shot. You guys are probably not going to understand, but maybe some of you will, so I'll give it to you anyway. So this is the front, and it is pinned on. That is the back V right there that we just looked at. And earlier when I said this was going to kind of be tucked behind the back, that's what I mean. So this is the inside of the garment right now, and you're seeing this thing that I put this tape on where it's pleated. It does get put on tucked behind the back, but the back stops like right here. So they just kind of gently cross over each other. I'm gonna go ahead and baste this on, and then I can do a full sew around of everything. And then this is complete, and I'm very close to done. Okay, so I have attempted an entire go around to sew like the front of the waistband down so that I could just flip it over and sew on the back by hand. It sucked. It sucked hard. About like maybe like a fifth of it got caught up and bunched. It's because there's so many like textures. Like some parts of it are just 2 pieces of, or actually 3 pieces of taffeta, super thin, and some of it are like all that pleating, and some of it is like all that pleating plus that weird like bound edge that I did. Like it varies wildly, so it caught up some of the waistband into it. I'm gonna do it by hand. That is what's gonna happen, and so I'm gonna go bind this waistband down by hand so that I don't have to deal with this. When in doubt and you need the most control possible on something, just do it by hand. I cannot believe I'm saying this. Just do it by hand. It's faster. Like honestly, I don't understand people who like, I did that binding on the purple corset by the machine and I'm like, this would look better if I had done it by hand. So like, yeah, always just do by hand. Okay, we have finished the waistband. I need to add closures, but I want to do that tomorrow after I put on my corset. I don't really want to do that now because it's like 3 in the morning. And I need to add the ties on the inside, but that'll be a quick job. And here is what the back of it looks like. It does have a little train. It's mostly just swooshy. Here's the front again for anyone who might not remember. This guy comes up and these pleats are back here, and you can see right there where the little bound piece is. So that's how that works, and it folds right over. And this is that V, but I've met the 2 points together. So I will maybe put a hook and eye in here and then maybe a little one just right here to hold this together. But I think it looks really great. It looks like a rose kind of, which is neat. So I will give it a try on tomorrow and set where I'm gonna put the hooks and eyes. Taffeta is just gonna be taffeta all the time. Slightly wrinkly, constantly. It's all good. Okay, I am setting a waistband on this, so this is what we're looking like. Can I zoom out? Yes, I can. Is that gonna make me very small? Yes, it is. I'm gonna turn around so you can see the back. It's not like poofed out very well because, you know, I got me dressed, but let's see what happens. And there I am from behind. There's my rose butt, which is what I'm calling this. A rose butt. Rose butt. Okay, so I have to do the closure on my overskirt. And also my bustle cage is just way too loose, and I think that's part of why it sits so low. So I need to move this guy way over here. This is actually how this farther line is how tight it actually should be. I will put this guy so that this tightest hook is so that this catches right at that line, basically. I've been using these lately. I'm sorry, I don't know what they're called. I think they're called like adjustable hooks, but I love them because if you have too many tacos, you can just, you know, loosen them up. This one's really great because like it also helps with different costumes, like in different corsets have different adjustments, so you can just add. Also, if you want to and you have hooks and eyes or even this kind of hook or something, you can just put multiple bars or eyes in there. Like, the tightest one is the one that matters, and then anything else you have room for, go for it. I think having adjustability in your clothes is great. I have stayed the same relative size through like 30 pounds of my weight change. My waist size has stayed the exact same measurements for like 15 years, so it just sort of like, I leave myself room for, maybe I want to be a little more comfortable today, and I'll just loosen that by one. No one's gonna see all this stuff, it's under all your skirts, so even if the like silver thing pokes out a little bit, fine. Anyway, I am gonna put one of these adjustable bars onto my overskirt also, so that it is also slightly adjustable. That guy is not the bodice, but okay. So I'm gonna do that first. I was looking at it and I have to see if I need tapes, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna put tapes in. And I also at some point, maybe not now, maybe I'll do it later, need to like make it so that I can bustle my train up. So like if I'm walking through the streets or puddles or like random places that I really don't want my train down, or maybe I just don't want my train down, so that I can like bustle my bustle essentially. So I think I'm just gonna make it so that I can hook it up. Like I'll put a little loop and a button or something in there so that I can, or ties, I guess maybe, or loop and ties, so that I can get that thing out of the way should it need to be up. Maybe I want to dance. Who knows? I don't think I want to dance, but we'll see. We'll see what happens at the ball. Okay, so I put the hooks and eyes, bars, what other hooks? What are we calling this? And I did it the other way because this is the top, and so it can catch wherever it needs to catch without this ever showing, because even if it catches on the shortest one, the little triangle, this thing, is not showing, which is cool. Why is my focus nuts? Anyway, so I did that, and don't let anyone tell you which way is the correct way to put your hooks and eyes on. You put them whatever way makes sense for whatever you're doing. The other thing I have is the bustle, and I did that the other way like previously, so I just left it and I moved this from over here to way over here. But see, like if I hook it, you can definitely see it still. It doesn't matter because it's way low on the totem pole of things that I'm wearing. I have like at least 3 garments over this. So that's fine, doesn't matter. But if I had done it the other way, it would have not shown, which might have been cool. I don't know, it doesn't really matter to me. So this is done, and I need to add the tape, so I'll do that in just a little bit. The first thing I'm actually going to do is do the armholes in my bodice, because it's like necessary for me to be dressed, and that isn't. Like, I could go with no ties, doesn't matter, the thing is fine. I'm gonna go ahead and do the armholes in the bodice now. I've also made myself a little like extra list over here, which is like the stuff I should bring, and just so I can add notes to this like as I go. Usually I put this in my Notion board for this outfit, so I will do that like as a permanent thing later, but for right now I just am keeping a running list so I can just write things down as I think of them. I also want to make an extra button just in case one pops off, stuff like that. Alright, so I'm going to do this the same way I did like the inside here. So that entails getting a piece of bias tape to go around this on the outside, flipping it in, clipping all the things, flipping it over, pressing it, and then sewing that down. So I'm currently stretching and steaming a piece of bias tape that is long enough to go around into the shape that I'm gonna want. It's never gonna be perfect. I'm just starting it out with a curve in it so that it's ready to go in a curve, because bias tape is cut on the bias, so it stretches, and you can stretch like one side of it more than you stretch the other. So I'm basically just pulling on it pretty hard on the top side and like twisting as I pull so it gets a curve in it, and then I'm going over it with a steam iron to just like kind of set and coax that curve in. You kind of lose your markings about where those lines are that you're supposed to sew on, but that's fine because it's not the right line anyway. So anyway, this is what's happening right now. I'm gonna get this stretched out, and then I'm gonna hand stitch that stuff down, and that's probably what I'm gonna be doing for a while I watch the next few episodes of Last of Us. I'm on episode 4. Okay, we have bound armholes now, which is great. We can cross this off. I'm gonna do this ties thing now, so we can cross that off, and then cross this off because it's made. We can worry about decorating it later. I also might like get rid of all the crossed off things here because that's getting kind of silly. Okay, so this is the tape situation. It's really just at the bottom of those things that I bound the edges of that held the pleats for the front. They go on that and then they tie to each other just to hold that kind of like back and in place, and that totally makes sense to me. So I have this here tape. There you go, that's a better view of it. So I have this here tape, so I'm just going to go ahead and put some of this in there. It's 18 inches and you just like sew it to the edges and tie them together. So this is the very last step, and then that garment will be done. Although now that we're talking about it being done, I have some stretch goals and one of them is actually to like stitch the pleats a little bit in place in that, because like as I take it off and put it back onto the mannequin, I'm noticing like the pleats just get messed up every time. And I remember this about Merida, and I remember stitching them down for Merida too. So if I have time, like probably when I get back from LA, I will stitch them down as well. In a little bit better of an explanation, here's the side pleats, which I haven't futzed with. And I've lifted up the back here, the back piece, so you can see. So I've just connected these two points where it's been pleated and put a tie in there. And that does hold it back very nicely. And it is a problem, like this tie I think is necessary, so I'm glad I did it. Okay, and with that I can do this, and I can also do that. And not that anyone was asking, but I totally did this also secretly behind the scenes. Okay, I've made a stretch goal situation so I can bustle my bustle. I need to sew the pleats on the overskirt if I want to. I also would love a taffeta petticoat. Taffy. And I need to decorate this, but that's not a stretch goal. This is like a do this first. If you have time, do some of that. I can also do some of this in like the hotel room, so we'll see. For me, for the future, I have shortened this list, which makes me happy. To decorating my bodice, I need to finish the Williamsburg jacket. I want to get my Ada gown final. I might use Angelica, I'm not sure, but that's for the ball in October, and I would love to get that knocked out way ahead of time. I would also like to make a day bodice for this outfit that I have going right now, and do the Pretty Housemaid corset again, but the final pattern version, just so I've done a nice one. And with that, I think I'm gonna bid you guys adieu. I have been sewing for a week now, so this has been a vlog of the last week, and we said we were doing weekly vlogs. So that's what's happening. I got a lot done this week, like I feel ready to go. I will do decoration in next week's vlog, and then anything else I get done for my stretch goals will also be in that. Also, I will be going to Los Angeles Friday and Saturday, just driving down Friday and then having some foods and hanging out with some peeps. And then on Saturday, I'm gonna go to the FIDM exhibit of the Motion Picture Academy of Costume exhibit, which I'm real excited about. It has the Black Panther costumes, it has the costumes from tons of stuff, Everything Everywhere All at Once, like all the movies that have been out. So I will film that for you guys and they will let me film in there, so that's really nice. Patreon members do get like high-res close-up shots, images, like I put all that stuff up of any museum that I can take pictures in, I do for them. So if you're interested in that, my Patreon is always listed down below. Feel free to join up. It's pretty cheap. You can do it if you want. I'm also going to an exhibit, which I don't know if they'll let me film in, but if they do, I will, and it's of Walt Disney's inspirations. So it's mostly a bunch of like 1800s French stuff, I think, but it's all the things that like inspired him in his art, in his castles, in like all of the like artistic style that he does, like the fantasy style, like think Fantasyland, that kind of stuff. So there's an exhibit at the Huntington Gardens that I've been wanting to go to for quite some time. This is like the last possible chance I have to see this thing because it closes the next weekend and I'll be in Chicago. So I will take you guys with me on that trip. There will also be many good tacos. I'm very excited about these tacos. I'm gonna get breakfast tacos at Homestay and I'm gonna get dinner tacos at Guisados. I am so excited. So I will take you along to those exhibits with me, and if we get up to anything else in LA, maybe that, but like I really don't have time because like we're gonna go to those two exhibits, I'm gonna have dinner with my friend, and then I'm gonna drive back at night. Luckily I'm nocturnal, so I can stay up all night and drive home. I don't think I'll get back like super late for me, but it will be late for a normal human. So that's the plan for next vlog, and then the vlog after that will be Chicago Ball and Chicago. I might get a piercing in my tragus, I'm not sure. For those people who don't really think about it, I actually have 14 holes in my ears and this will be 15. We're gonna see how that works out. A bunch of us have appointments. We're also gonna go to the Chicago Field Museum while we're there. We're gonna hang out with a couple people, Paisley and Glue and Silk and Stitches, Anne and Maggie. We have a bunch of us, like my crew is going. So Abby, Nicole, Morgan for sure. Chrissy's coming. Vivian's coming. There's gonna be a lot of fun people going on this trip. So I'll be vlogging that as well. And so that's some good stuff to look forward to in the future. Please, as always, leave me comments. I love reading your comments. I really do. So let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you're reading, what you're watching. I am on to, I think I have episode 8 and 9 only of Last of Us to watch. I'm also watching The Mandalorian, of course. Ted Lasso started. I love Ted Lasso so much. It's one of my favorite shows of all time at this point because it's just like so wholesome and good. If you have Apple TV, Ted Lasso is where it's at. Like, honestly, even if you don't know anything about soccer, it doesn't matter. You don't need to know. It's very funny. And it's just very wholesome. And this season is good so far, so I'm excited. Yeah, so leave me messages and let me know what's up with you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please do that. If you are new here, go down to the comments below and introduce yourself. Let me know who you are, how you got here, how you found me, what you're into. Like, do you sew? Do you do other things? Like, let me know about you. I like meeting new people. All right, I will see you guys next time with whatever's left. Okay, bye guys.